So welcome to another episode of Lazy Wealth Creation, and back by popular demand, feedback on feedback. Today I am going to be talking directly to the audience who have filled out those 900 comments, which I'm not going to go through all 900, do not worry. On TikTok, just one video so far, 250,000 views, 900 comments, and this is talking about quality of life and pensions. So let's see what our lovely commenters have said. Lee Boy says, if we don't sort this country out, which I don't think we will, there will be no pension 20 years from now. Lee Boy, I'm going to give you a heart there. I totally agree with you. If you do not yet have a backup plan, I strongly urge you to check this webinar link below. It is a free webinar. We will give you access. You will have it in 5 minutes. You start, play it fully for free. 45 minutes. We're going to show you how to get wealth, how to go from 45 grand in debt to 18 million pounds in building net value. So click on that webinar link right now and we'll see you in 5 minutes. Well done, Lee Boy, for that comment, by the way. Robert McCracken, this country is not a very caring place. You either earn or you fail. Well, I don't know, I'm kind of mixed on this one, Robert, because I also live in Dubai and there is no welfare state for expats over there. You do earn or you fail. So that I live in that environment and I agree with that. However, in the UK, there are multiple safety nets. Education is free at the point of delivery. The NHS care is free at the point of delivery. There is state welfare. So I don't necessarily agree with you, but I do think that we have lost our humanity and that we have started treating people quite badly, particularly people who've paid into pensions for their entire lives. So again, if that is you and you don't know what to do, click on the free webinar link below and I look forward to seeing you in a couple of minutes. Ooh, Ronnie says, we are not supposed to live, and gives an angry face. Actually, Ronnie, I'm going to give that a like as well because there is quite an element of truth to that. What happens is economists, they sit around the table and they look at the morbidity rates, the fatality rates or death rates in the country, and they see just how long people are going to live for and how much we would have to pay over the lifespan of that person's existence from when they claim state pension. And what they're trying to do is shorten that lifespan so that they only have to pay out for a couple of years. And of course, the major gamble is they really don't want people to live that long. So ideally, if people would die before the age of 70, the government wins, basically, because you've already been paying in all those contributions and other people are paying in contributions for you. So there is actually an element of truth to there, Ronnie. I would agree that we are not supposed to live. But again, if that's you and you're worried about it, get in touch. Join our webinar. We'll absolutely show you how to avoid the rat race for free. So click on that link right now. Alkaline62 says, why would you pay for that sugar? Basically, that's what it is, whether you are working or not. So Alkaline62 clearly misses the point. They are referring to me having a Costa coffee when I'm doing in comparison to the cost of living and what's going to be, good quality life. Yeah, of course, Alkali62, people choose to drink buckets of sugar in their Costa coffee if they want to. Kind of missed the point about pensions, but that's okay. I'm going to give you a like anyway, because at least you tried. A for effort, but a U for lack of understanding. Aged Hippie says, yeah, large is a small indifferent shaped cup, as is a regular, a small or a large. Yeah, large will fit in a small cup. Aged Hippie, I totally agree with your tag name, Aged Hippie. That sounds exactly right for you. And again, missing the point, but I still quite like the content, so I'm going to give that a love. User 2757266839401. What a great username that is. I only get £184 a week. Worked from 1976 to 2014 for the council full time. And that, user 2757266839401, is my point. You work all of your adult life to get what at the end of it? £184 that this person has to live on now until they shuffle off the mortal coil, as it were. So again, from me, do not wait to rely on a state pension. This person is lucky to be getting £184 a week. I suspect by the time I get to the age of 70, there will be zero pension available, even though I've been paying in all this time. Kipler says, equal rights means equal rights. You fought for it. Why should men work longer than women? Maybe we should have reduced men's working age, with a emoji. You know, actually, Kipler, I think you're onto a really good point here. Men actually die far earlier than women as well. So when you look at it in that context, men are going to get far less access to pensions because we typically die 5 years on average earlier than women do. So we only get a few years of our pension, and the women get an additional 5, sometimes longer years than what we do. So I think there's a real point there, Kipler, but the bigger point is, how are you supposed to survive off a state pension anyway? My answer is you can't, or you shouldn't. So you need to start taking action now. Click the link below, join the webinar. I look forward to seeing you there. I'm on the old pension and it's a struggle to make ends meet, says West Happiness 44. Really sorry to hear that. And, you know, that is really not very nice. It's linked to a different index. So I guess it's really sad to hear, and I hope that you are okay. Please know that there is help out there. If you've got friends or family, please reach out to them. Don't be suffering in silence. And unfortunately, that's the way the government is going for everybody. If they're coming for us all, there's no mercy, and there's certainly no empathy. So I'm really sorry to hear about that. West Happiness 44. Man called Megs says, this is a disingenuous call-out. Any pensioner who is entirely reliant on the state pension will be eligible for many other benefits, not least housing benefits, tax credits, etc. So yes, the base may be $230 a week, but in reality, most pensioners are receiving more. Look at the winter fuel allowance. That hasn't aged well, has it? So Man Called Meg says, you know, look, you're not just going to get 230 quid. The state are going to look after you. They're going to give you all these free benefits on top. I would argue back with this Man Called Megs and say, is that the life you want? Reliant on the state, who changes its mind more times than Keir Starmer gets suits from Lord Ali. Is that really what you want? You want to, oh, well, maybe they'll change their mind this month. Oh, no, they'll change it back. The winter fuel payment, exactly what he's talking about there. The government changed their mind twice. They've said, we're not going to take any money from people. Then they said, we're going to take money from you, the winter fuel allowance. Then they said, we're not going to do that anymore because it's not very popular, or they made some nonsense up and said, actually, yeah, we're going to give everybody the winter fuel allowance. So imagine the stress of relying on the state that's going to bring. I'm still going to give you a like because I think you deserve it, because you have raised a point, but it's a point I definitely do not agree with. Stop! Before you go any further, if you're enjoying this content, remember to give us a subscribe, a like, a follow, or a share. Every single person that clicks on those buttons, it means the world to us because it helps us reach more people and get people educated in how to get wealth the lazy way. Just another guy. There will be many pensioners will be ending their life due to not being able to live on the actual full state pension. Anyone who disagrees is not being honest with themselves. So you pay into the national insurance for 51 years, and that's all you get, £230.25. Folks, we have been lied to, and, sorry, I've had to press the elliptical. We have been lied to and shafted, says Just Another Guy. Being honest with you, Just Another Guy, I find that very hard to argue with. I agree on every level. You are told by the government, you pay in, we'll look after you. Is that happening? Absolutely not. We own and operate care services. we do not get paid the correct amount of money from the local authorities because they say they're going bankrupt, so they don't have enough money to pay for people's care. So what do? They reduce the price of care below real living wage costs, which is illegal. But somehow, because it's the local authority, they get away with it. Why is that? Because the local authority get their money from the government. Where do the government get their money from? The taxpayer. But more people are now claiming welfare benefits than ever before. So again, just another guy. I totally agree. That's getting a love. Definitely. Partage says, the pension is the same for somebody who lay in bed for 35 years as someone who got up early for work for 35 years. Absolutely right to say that. Unfortunately, we are now living in the era in the UK where people who have never worked a single day in their lives from the age of 18 are now coming up to retirement having never, ever worked, not one day. And now they don't have to sign on anymore because they're entitled to a state pension. And what is more graining about this is that the dole, or universal credit as it's now called, will have been paying their national insurance contributions for them, so they will be entitled to the full state pension. Imagine that, working every day of your life versus never working a day in your life and ending up exactly the same. How criminal is that? You be the judge. Well done, Partage, I agree with you. How is nearly $1,000 a month for free not a good thing? Who needs a calorie-filled coffee for a good life, says Kimball. Well, Kimball, I think you've missed the point, but never mind, that's okay. So yeah, 920 quid a month, Kimball, is what you get, and it's not for free. It was actually given mostly by people who have worked and paid into the system their whole lives, except for the people we've just been talking about with the comment from Partage, of course. I don't think £1,000 a month for free is a good thing ever, because I think it teaches people to be bone idle and lazy. If you don't agree with that, look at the economy in the UK, where we have more people unemployed of working age now than ever in our history. Interesting. Costa is full of pensioners. They do have state and private pension. ONBS. I don't know what that means. That again is from Partage. Oh, Partage, you're back. Costa Coffee is full of pensioners. They do have state and private pensions. ONBS. So there's an element of truth here, actually. So some people do have private pensions, but remember, private pensions are reflected in the contributions that you and your employer have made. So if you are a part-time cleaner in a school and you've done that for 30 years, you will walk away with approximately £20,000 to £25,000 total in your pension. And most people, there was a study by Aviva, they said that most people in private pensions have got less than £50,000. So how is that meant to carry you from aged sort of 55 when you can start to cash it until you die? That would be worth, 20 quid a month. So agree in principle with the sentiment there, Partage, but not actually the maths. It doesn't add up. So I'm still giving you a love though, because, A for effort. User 8621851034923 says less than minimum wage. Does it drive you crazy when users are like that and they've got no picture or anything, just looks like a bot? I don't know if that's real or not, but okay. Less than minimum wage. Yes, it is, but you're also not working if you're claiming your state pension. So, okay, yeah, I get it, but unfortunately, my view on this is don't rely on state pensions in the first place. If you need to rely on state pension, you, sorry to say, have probably done something wrong. If you want to understand how to start making money for your retirement, we've got a webinar. Click on the link just below. We'll take you to it. It's totally free. It's 45 minutes, and you never know, it could just change your life and show you how I went from £45,000 in debt to £18 million net valuation in just 3 years. So have a look at that link. It's totally free. I can honestly say, if you try to live on it, you'd find out what it's like to live on that a month. And me and my husband get taxed on our pensions. That's a reality of it. And it doesn't matter how much pension you receive. I get the state pension. I got a civil service pension, which is not even £300 a month. And I'm taxed on that as well. And the rate of price is going up. It's not the government money. They shouldn't be taxing state pensioners. The national living wage is £20,000 a year or two. Pensioners get that. No, of course, we don't live with the fifth richest country in the world. Can't give our pensioners like me. It works. They were 15. A decent pension is disgraceful. It's cruel. A lot of language I didn't quite understand there, but the crux of it from user 244-824-6733047, again faceless, is me and my husband have worked for years. I've got a small civil service pension giving me less than £300 a month, and I'm actually getting taxed on it because me and my husband did the right thing and worked all of our lives. Totally agree with that sentiment. It's absolutely criminal that you still have to pay taxes when you've already given into the society's pot. But again, if you want to know how to actually escape from this rat race, click on this link below. There's a webinar. It starts in 5 minutes. It's totally free. It shows you exactly how to start building wealth right now. I started minus 45 grand in debt to £18 million net value in just 3 years. So please click on the link below. I'll show you how. Meme says UK are the lowest paid pension. I'm not sure I agree with that because there's plenty of countries in the world that don't pay any pensions at all. But maybe what meme means is the lowest in Europe or perhaps the Western Hemisphere. I'm not too sure, but we certainly are on the lowest in that particular environment. In the G7 certainly, but I don't really have any other comment than that to say, yeah, it's disgraceful what we pay our state pensions. TikTok user, that's the name. TikTok user says, if you've never worked, you shouldn't be entitled to any state pension. I appreciate NI credits for carers and disabled people are necessary, but just being out of work your whole life is a different matter. You have not just been unlucky for 3 decades. You're a dosser. I promise that's not me and my alter ego, because you know what? If I could give you double love, I would give you double love. I agree 100%. Why should you get more free money if you've chosen not to work for 3 decades and you've not got any disability or you're not a carer to try and stop you? I got next door neighbours that do not work through choice, sit outside all day drinking, smoking spliffs. They don't even take their kids to the park. That's how bad it is. And they are exactly fitting that profile. I totally get it. TikTok user, legend. Well done. Faye says, the state pension is a joke. And even if you have a private pension, most people don't live long enough to spend it. So they often keep it. And if you are not married and nominate someone, it's still not guaranteed they'll get the funds. Oof. Faye, that sounds like you've got through some personal experience there, and there are some entities out there that have done this, where if somebody has passed away, it's taken years to get hold of the spouse who's passed away's pension into the estate and then disperse those funds. So Faye is absolutely right. It can actually ruin entire families because they need to pay off the house. And, of course, the person who's getting the pension has passed away, so the pension contributions coming into the household income stop. That means the mortgage can't be paid for if you are still trying to get your mortgage paid. So, again, this is another reason. I love that comment, Faye. But there's a reason why, if you don't want to rely on pensions and you want to start getting out of this rat race, out of this debt trap, this bad debt trap, click the link below. We have a webinar starting in a few minutes. Come onto this webinar. It's totally free. It won't cost you a single penny. Listen to what we talk about there. I'm going to tell you exactly how I got out of 45,000 quid's worth of debt and ended up with an £18 million valuation on our businesses in just 3 years. We're going to show you exactly how to do it. And no, you're not too old to start. As long as you can use a laptop or a mobile phone to access the internet, you've got the skills. Don't worry. Ablaze_rain5. How long have pensions even been around, to be fair? It feels like a bit of an experiment that won't last, like the NHS, but there's no plan B if it fails, if we're just making it up as we go along. Do you know what? Ablaze_rain5, I think there's a little bit of a point there, but again, the socialist government back in the day, they wanted to do something to help the poor. And they said, look, universal healthcare, really important. It wasn't the ugly monstrosity that we have now, which is the NHS, where we're worried about, what colour the flyers need to be and the equality, diversion, the equality, diversity and inclusion officers. It wasn't that. It was, if your arm's fallen off, we'll put it back together. If you have had an accident, we'll patch you up. That was the NHS as it was originally intended. And as health has got more and more sophisticated, the NHS has grown and grown and grown to become this big, ugly machine. And now they're spending money on things that are not directly linked to patient care and more linked to bureaucracy and obeying crazy ideologies that are run by various trusts, which I won't bore you with. But again, the NHS and pensions, are they set up as an experiment? They weren't. They were set up with a general purpose of doing good for those less fortunate. But what's happened is people have abused that system for a long time. They've got onto it. They know what the loopholes are. And the pension system wasn't going to predict that people were going to live past 100 years of age, because when it first came out, people were sort of dying in their 50s and 60s, and they were only getting a pension from like 63. So, you're only going to get a pension for 2 or 3 years, but now people are getting pensions for 20, 30, 40 years, and that is unsustainable. Really good comment, though. Very, very good points raised. User 401-314-3905-375 with no face. According to ONS Statistics, that's the official Office of National Statistics, they reckon one person spends £31 in weekly food shopping. I would like then to review those figures. Well, unfortunately, user 401-314-3905-375, I do not work for the ONS. I would very much question if somebody can afford to live on £31 a week in food shopping as a single parent. Maybe if they were a single person, I think maybe if they were in a family and they were cooking in batch and the cheapest possible ingredients or growing their own food, possibly that could work. But of course, people don't do that now. They order in, and Wiltshire Farms is a booming business if that's something that you're interested in. Watch_it_2. That's why they wanted to K as many old age pensioners as possible when COVID came about. Ooh, I've just understood that message. Okay. Ooh, bit dark this one. Watch_it_2 with a little pumpkin face. That's why they wanted to kill, I think he's meant to be saying there, or she, as many old age pensioners as possible when COVID came about. I think it's a bit dark, but COVID only happened for a couple of years, and they're still going to have the same problem now. So I don't think that's why they wanted to do it necessarily, but I understand there's a certain logic to letting people die. I get that. And of course, we do have pandemics, we do have wars, we do have rapid deterioration diseases that we have no control over, and we do have neglect by the hundreds of thousands within the NHS and care service as we speak. Just the other day, a gentleman had fallen over at home and one of my carers went to see him. He had a 4-inch gash across his head that had been bleeding quite profusely, because when you gash your head, it does bleed a lot. And his son said, I don't want to get an ambulance because I don't want him waiting in the corridor for 4 days to be seen. And when we phoned the social worker, they said, oh, well, I kind of see his son's logic, to be fair. And that was the answer. The man's got a 4-inch gash on his head, and then he went to bed because he felt unwell. Can you imagine a G7 country doing that? That happened. It happened a week ago from the date of this recording. A week ago. This is 2025, and we're letting old men with 4-inch gashes go to bed because they feel tired after a head injury, not knowing how they got it, from going to hospital because they'd just be waiting in a corridor for 4 days anyway. That is the state of care in this country. That is the state of pensions in this country. If it were me, I would want private care for my father, I would want private care for my mother, and I would want them looked after. But no, we can't do that. Why? Because poor planning. Get your planning in now. Stop relying on the NHS. Stop relying on the state. They're not coming to help you. They do not care. Start now. Here, webinar link. Go on it. 45 minutes, totally free. I'm going to show you how to start getting wealth right now instead of waiting on these people who do not give a crap about you. Sorry, a little bit of a rant there, but watch_it_2. I totally understand where you're coming from, and there is absolutely an element of truth to this. We are in a planned decline or a planned decay of our social services. So thank you for that.